Ordinals banter. Today we're going to be discussing the great Sub100k debate. Kathy Wood selling off her Bitcoin allegedly. Somebody on this show turning 3k borrowed to 33k in Bitcoin assets. Can't wait to hear from her. It's Witters herself. You're probably familiar with her if you're familiar with the show. Successful project launch by Billy. If Billy does join us today, I wanted to hear about his recent project. Twitter inscriptions, and all kinds of other topics. I mean, what in the world's happened with Node Monks? I'm sure Jan and Charlie has some insight with that. This show is on X and YouTube, so if you want your chat to be filtered through so we can see it on the video, YouTube's better, but you can also be chatting on Twitter as well. And obviously, this show is brought to you by Ninja Alerts, who, by the way, just announced the official mint date over the holidays, January 16th at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Magic Eden. Halfway through this video or halfway through the stream, I'm gonna pause and we're gonna watch a 1-minute video that Ken made discussing the new banners and talking about this mint that's coming up. For further updates, be sure to be following Ninja Alerts and Trevor. It's at TO on Twitter with notifications on. With all that being said, what is up, everybody? Jan, welcome, man. How was y'all's holidays if you celebrate? How's everything going in the Bitcoin Ordinals space? I think we lost Jan right after the introduction.
No. Got me?
Yeah, we can hear you somewhat, a little robotically.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me try to figure it out.
All good, man. All good. We'll move on to Charlie first, because Witters, I have a really big piece for asking about your OMB that you gave away and all that. So Charlie, how's it going with you and down at Ordinals Hub?
Oh man, it's been good. It's been really fun. Obviously I'm your resident Bitcoin mining guy, but then also just broader Bitcoin. Crypto's been running everywhere you look. That's been fun. There are some very interesting things happening in January, which I cannot talk about here on the show. But I think in the next, So that's the only thing I'll say. It's just 2 or 3 weeks from now, there'll be some very, very cool announcements.
Cool. Yeah, man.
So
sweet. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Bitcoin Cooks in the chat saying, GM, you guys cooking with us on 2024. I'm assuming that Charlie or Jan or Witters, all these people probably have their pulse on everything that's happening in the space. And then we got Pat saying, let's go. Witters, how are you doing? How was your Christmas?
It was super good. I posted, the video of giving my dad the payback that he so rightfully deserved after so many months of. He didn't charge me interest, but I charged it myself. And
how much interest did you charge yourself?
Oh, I can't do that kind of math right now. But a homie don't know how to sell Bitcoin, and then B, it is it's like a store of value, just like in my own portfolio, because I know that he's not going to do anything with it. But I did ask him, I was like, did you ever think that I'd give you like 30 grand for Christmas? And he was like, nope, sure didn't. So that was super fun. It's always more fun giving gifts than receiving them. And like I refurbished my grandfather's for my brother. My brother golfs a lot, so we refurbished an old like mahogany like golf stand, and gave that to my brother. And he it's very the next thing that he said, he was like, well, now my gifts suck. Like, I just love
you're that sibling. How dare you?
I know, I really am.
$33,000 back to your dad.
Yeah, I know. It's more of a game to me to like give the best gift.
I mean, you topped it. Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of funny. Like, we're joking about it, but if you have siblings or have done Christmas and stuff, it is funny. Like, you all kind of agree to like this, like, we're kind of either going to all pitch in and get one thing, or we're all going to get them like a 20, 50, whatever limit your family has. And you always have that one sibling that goes like above and beyond, and it makes you feel inferior. But you said, I'm going to do that like times 100 this year.
Yeah,
that's so amazing though.
Yeah, no, my brother's usually the favorite, so I have to represent and pull the card. And so at least for 2024, I will be the favorite.
So I saw you gave him an OMB too, correct?
I did, yeah. So I had, with the 3,000 that he had given me, I had purchased an OMB, and I had minted. I wanted some extra funds. Like I had funds, but I wanted some extra, like on mint day and thereafter, to be able to, just accumulate more, right? Like you want as many OMBs as you possibly can get. And so I had, prior to that, and this is something that I'm trying to rebrand just for myself. I am used to be very heavy into the meme coins, or the shit coins. I don't know if we can say shit here. But I had done some of that with that 3K. Very irresponsible of me, but it didn't go bad. And it funded, like I have a set of 3 OMB green eyes, and I had used that he had given me in the shit coinery, or the meme coinery, and I had accumulated and stacked it to where I kept it separate, so I knew what came from that 3K, and I just kept putting it into the same wallet. And I wanted to kind of show him that it wasn't for anything, but he he was. I cut out a few of the things that he said because he hadn't seen, other than my OMB, he hadn't seen an OMB before, and he definitely hadn't seen the one that I had given him. And he had some choice words whenever he saw it, and so I cut that out. And from there, it was just a cute interaction, because like my dad's cute as can be, and really trying hard not to cuss. It's hard. But yeah, so it was just something that I had been working. He gave me the 3K in April. So, I mean, however many months that is, the return was about 33,000. I'm not today. Today was a red day, but yeah. Oh, a really fun thing that happened. So the day after Christmas, my dad has a housekeeper, and it is it's really funny, just their interaction, just in general. But then he had called me, and he was like, "Did you come get that ledger?" And I was like, "Sure didn't. Gonna need you to turn the house upside down to find that. Thank you." And
oh my gosh.
Apparently the housekeeper had gotten it, and it had just moved it to a different location. He was freaking out. I was freaking out. And I was like, "Oh, you're going to need to find a better location for that." A really cool thing, within his house, he has a walk-in safe that my great-grandfather built. And so I was like, "Could you please put that down there? That'd be real swell. So nobody else can get a hold of that." And so he gave me the confirmation that it is now in the safe and secure. So that was good.
That's amazing. We did have some Ordinal Revolution in chat saying, Charlie, Ordinal Revolution, I just watched one of your streams today. Really good content. I've seen your stuff in the past as well. Thug said, Witters has a very strange wall. Is it streaming from a bunker?
I'm streaming from my gallery.
Art bunker. And,
yeah, art bunker.
It's an art bunker. Yeah. I was on the Ordinal Revolution. Those guys, I think they work full-time jobs, but they put out content like crazy. It's very impressive. They're like 24/7 grind set guys.
They do, and they're like, it's like 3 times a week. I went and looked today because I was like, because I have my own YouTube, and I'm like, man, they went from like 0 to 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. On Twitter, it's like, I get that, but on YouTube, that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah,
and I looked, and like 3 times a week, hour-long streams. So shout out to those guys, and they're like really on top of everything. I mean, they were mentioning some things I haven't heard of, and I have a pretty good pulse on the space. So yeah, shout out to those guys. Witters, I don't want to leave this conversation yet. Like, I have a ton of questions, but I do, now that Jan is here and not pixelated, and looks like
I'm here. I'm from my phone, guys. I'm sorry, but my computer is just not collaborating with me today.
All good, man. All good. I got to ask Jan, I mean, how are you? I'm sure everybody watching this knows you to some capacity from the Ordinal show, also from working with the team at Xverse. Did they know you when I knew you when you were just a mere moonbird? I'm not too sure. But now that you're stuff, between having OMBs and about to have some ninjas, I know everybody knows you now. So what's up, Jan?
Man, I'm doing pretty well. I spent vacation, or not vacation, Christmas in Asia. In Asia, people don't really do Christmas, so it has not been as amazing as for you, I guess. This time didn't go back to Europe, but otherwise doing fantastic. Obviously, I don't really want to bring up the Moonbirds conversation. I think at this point I'm just hoping that somebody's actually going to acquire that, and something interesting is going to happen with that collection. But no, I'm doing fantastic. I mean, I'm just super pumped for 2024, to be honest. Like, I just cannot wait, because obviously this week has been a little bit slower with everybody kind of half on vacation, and not much stuff is happening as usual. Even we had to skip the Monday show. I was kind of persuading Leo and Trevor that we should still do it, but I didn't succeed with that endeavor. And no, I'm just super pumped for 2024, man. I cannot wait, because we have just so much in store. And obviously Ordinals, this was the first year. We're kind of going to get into the second year. And so, I just cannot wait.
Yeah, same, man. I mean, we have, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we have our mint coming up like the second week of January. Yeah. And that's been over, the specific Ordinals mint's probably been about a year in the making, but, Ninja Alerts is obviously even longer than that. And then just like everything is happening, I have on the topics, we don't have to talk about this for a long time. I thought it was just interesting, worth mentioning. And when I was going to your Twitter to try to find your post about your dad, I saw that you shared it, but the whole like Cathie Wood sold off her Bitcoin. And at first when I saw that, one, I was like, well, how did that not really affect the market that much? Two, I was like, that just doesn't sound right. I mean, this is the same person that's saying even Ethereum is going to be $250,000 by like 2030 or something. Come to find out, and I, feel free to input. Come to find out, it kind of just looked like a clickbait headline, because they actually bought. Let me pull it up real quick. I thought I had this up. So they bought 4.3 million shares of Bitcoin Strategies ETF, BitTo. So basically, from the sounds of it to me, it's like she's now in Bitcoin via that, but maybe not via her other investments. And I'm thinking that maybe it's just like a tax loss harvest or something like that. What's your thoughts on the whole, to the whole panel on the Cathie Wood thing?
I think
is the question for me? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This is just super quick. I think that is a strategic move. Should we sell our Bitcoin with Cathie Wood? Is it the local top right now? And, just put it on to like something like Solana or ride a pump, or just like hodl and make, no moves whatsoever. Because I mean, once the ETF is approved, just the article that was a fake article, or like a not true article. That pumped 10% in Bitcoin. So it's anybody's game right now. But for the people that are like swing trading and doing different things within crypto, I think that a lot of people are using this as a way to trade for sure.
Yeah, I'll chime in here. Because we have a derivatives desk at Luxor, so we had some internal chatter about it. Basically, this position does maintain their it's a futures position, so they're long Bitcoin on the CME, and it allows them to be long without necessarily having to take a definitive direction on the shorter term. And right now, the question is, where do you position yourself for the ETF? I don't freaking know. But you definitely, the ETF is very clearly a long-term bullish signal. So I guess maybe this allows them to be long Bitcoin without having to make an opinion about where it goes to the short term, and then maybe roll that over into their ETF whenever, Lord willing, an ETF is approved.
Charlie, I have a question for you specifically. Your thoughts on this. This is probably going to sound really dumb, but I'm just still trying to wrap my head around these things. So some of the like ETF like FUD that I'm seeing kind of circle around from some respectable people is essentially these. Well, one, there's very likely they're not going to be able to self custody their Bitcoin, which is like obviously a red flag. And then two, I've seen it like people saying basically it's like more. It could be like an on paper Bitcoin. So this doesn't necessarily mean that these companies have to like go in and buy all this Bitcoin at one time because they're not actually distributing Bitcoin. But that also confuses me because it's like, well, then how are they going to keep up with like extreme price fluctuations legally? I don't know. Have you heard any of that? I just rattled the dogs to that question.
They go after it. They go after it.
It's probably Cypher outside doing whatever he does. Look. Sorry.
Oh, you're good, man. They're waiting for me to ask that question. This is probably the government trying to censor Charlie right now. They just like
probably
they use that little chips to put in his dogs because they couldn't get him any other way.
The answer is yeah. There's like a lot of Bitcoin maximalist talking points, like, oh, it's gonna break Bitcoin. We'll sell more Bitcoin than they have on paper. I understand there's a bunch of ways you can structure an ETF, and I'm not really the expert on this part. I think it's going to offer people exposure to Bitcoin. I don't think in the near term this is a huge issue, but I could be wrong. Owning Bitcoin, I think it's just going to mirror a lot of the gold ETF. Like there's various gold ETF and financial products out there, and you can own paper gold or you can self custody your gold. I think this is going to be a very, very analogous situation where all the same risk assumptions you have when trying to buy any kind of paper gold exposure, it also map onto the risk assumptions with the Bitcoin ETF. But the thing is, like, these are very well regulated products in the US. So I feel more confident about like regulated ETFs in the US than I do probably other jurisdictions. But man, there's a lot smarter people who like financial analysts and stuff who can probably speak, provide more color. But I would not consider this a high risk scenario at this point in the Bitcoin adoption curve.
What do you think, Jan?
Yeah, well, I mean, in general, about Cathie Wood, you mean what I mean about like her selling Bitcoin or the ETF? Like, what is the question directly?
Whichever point you feel like you have, a good opinion on as far as either Cathie Wood selling her Bitcoin but kind of still being long on it, or just the Bitcoin ETF in general, like them not being able to self-custody Bitcoin. You work at Xverse, so I'm sure you're.
Well, we don't really touch those things, at this point. Maybe when we grow bigger, but the thing is that I think for these funds, isn't it normal? By the end of the year, you kind of like, sell off some positions, and do stuff like that. Again, I'm not a fund manager. I never worked in a fund like that. But I think it's pretty common that as you're kind of going towards the end of the year, these big fund managers, they're just, as you said, like either it's like taking some profits or kind of rebalancing their portfolio. or, like, as you said, tax harvesting as well. I think this is something that is pretty common. So I wouldn't really read too much into it. At the same time, you need to consider, right? Like, Bitcoin really pumped a lot, over the past couple months. Like, so I don't know what's her cost basis in terms of entering into the position. I do believe she has been in Bitcoin for a while. So, yeah, it pumped like 100%, like over the past couple months, basically. And so I think that's something that, like, for her fund, like maybe showing some performance, whatever, like I think that's pretty common. And that doesn't have to really change your position. Like, long term, I'm super bullish, but short term, I'm kind of rebalancing, right? So again, I wouldn't look too much into it. Me personally, I would love to see Bitcoin going down a little bit, to be honest. I think it went up a little bit too quickly, for us, or for me at least, to get into some of these ordinal projects that I still want to get exposure in. And so I would love to see some sort of correction before, let's say, the next like real bull market that, I don't know if it's going to come around the halving, if it's going to come before that, if it's going to come after that, who knows. But I would definitely love to see Bitcoin, going a little bit lower for a while so that I can accumulate.
Dude, Bitcoin Ordinals are getting expensive. And like, it's funny because it's just a psychological thing. Like, at the end of the day, at the end of the day that these numbers are going to fluctuate when you're paying them, but still, like, when you like kind of see the US dollar next to what you're spending on an ordinal, it just does, like, it's hard to get past that. I don't care who you are. Like, I know like one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, but it's like there's a psychological difference between hitting that buy button when what used to be, $1,000 is now $5,000 or whatever. Like, I don't know, it just does something.
Well, yet people spend so much Ethereum on JPEGs, right? And they don't even think about it. And like, if you look at the Ethereum collections, some of the top ones, they're much more expensive than the ordinals at this point still, right? And so I think it's definitely like, psychological. It's also like we are not really used to spending Bitcoin, like, let's be real. Nobody like a year ago like was really like spending Bitcoin on stuff in such a manner as we do now with ordinals. And so I think we definitely need a little bit more time adjusting for this, But yeah, man, of course, like, if Bitcoin pumps so hard, if suddenly it's twice as expensive, then like, it feels a little bit strange when some of the collections, and this would be even a question for you guys at NinjaLets, I even saw some of the tweets about it recently. Like, will the collections adjust the pricing, right? Or will they just kind of run with it? Like, if it keeps on pumping and you said your price was this, like, you're just going to stick with it, or you're going to adjust the pricing. That's also something that is going to play the role, in the ecosystem a little bit, I think.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely a real problem. I think for NinjaLert specifically, we had a set price for the top 300, and then there's a separate price for the public, but I would need to verify on that. And I was even heard, Charlie, you were in this conversation the other day. I don't remember the name of the space. It was on the Ordinal show, so I guess, Jan, you obviously were there too. But you guys were talking about, like, in the next few years, pretty much you're just not going to be able to inscribe. Like, the fees are going to be like astronomical.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, this was a talking point that Udi was making, which I kind of mirrored and I generally agree with as like directionally where it's going. And it actually kind of goes back to one of my original positions on inscriptions was that I struggled to see how the kind of image and PFP, the art component of inscriptions, would be a lasting era, because part of the whole thesis of Bitcoin is that the transaction fees on Bitcoin do increase as percentage of block reward over time. And so in such a scenario, and if Bitcoin does go to 100K or higher, this makes it really, really expensive to inscribe anything. And I see Jan's trying to talk, but he's breaking up.
He's trying so hard to interrupt you and can't.
Yeah.
You can keep going, Charlie.
Yeah, well,
Bro.
Yeah. So, you look historically at Bitcoin's fees, right? Go to Mint Plus Space, zoom out as far as you can. And we've only really seen this type of fee environment for brief periods of time. And it's typically when the price is going up. If you hadn't noticed, we've been in a bear market the past two years. It's been very, very uninteresting as far as price action comparatively. If things go up, and especially if you look at the types of things which want to be put on Bitcoin, such as DLCs, these various Bitcoin DeFi protocols, the various scaling solutions, these are all competing and bidding for block space. In such a scenario, we could see reflexive, or rather, you might say convexity of demand for Bitcoin block space, which means it gets really expensive to use Bitcoin. This is kind of what it's always supposed to have done. This is where Bitcoin has always been headed. It's just now we live in this very brief era, brief saying like only a few years maybe, where you can put your art and JPEGs on Bitcoin quite easily. It's all like, I mean, you'll always be able to put these on there. It'll just like the costs to do it in the future, if Bitcoin succeeds, should be astronomical. So like, this is me being both a bull and a bear at the same time. This is me saying what you inscribe today is going to be extremely rare in the future. People are not going to be able to do this in 10 years. At the same time that I say, I think what's happening with Ordinals, specifically the data on Bitcoin, is going to evolve very rapidly, and it's going to look very different in a few years. And I don't think it'll be PFPs.
I got another dumb question on that. Because I've only like minted and bought secondary. When I say minted, like the whole like kind of like pay it forward in the project mints, I've never inscribed it myself. How much more expensive is inscribing than like transacting, like buying an ordinal versus inscribing an ordinal? Because would that thesis carry over to just secondary as well, or?
So this is really interesting. I don't know how deep of a rabbit hole you want to go here, but you basically the simple calculation to figure out how much a transaction costs is the amount of bytes, how big it is, how much data times the fee rate, and there's the witness discount for data you put in the witness part of the block, and the non-witness discount, or the regular financial transaction data, and those are kind of the big like dials you can turn. And basically, an inscription, if we say the average inscription is, say, 20 kilobytes, that's going to be, 20 kilobytes times something times 4, so it's going to be like 100,000 sats maybe? I forget. Times, dude, I can't do this math in my head. It's going to be a few multiple times. It's going to be maybe like 10 times more expensive to inscribe than an average Bitcoin transaction. This is ballpark. And what's interesting is because we have different pricing and different discounts for witness data and non-witness data, it actually means that inscriptions theoretically make normal financial transactions comparatively cheaper. This is actually a point Eric Wall made back in February to say, oh, you Bitcoin maxis who hate this actually are having the wrong conclusion. This actually makes your transactions could make your transactions cheaper within the types of things we put into Bitcoin block space as it's currently priced. So it's almost like everybody's come to the wrong conclusion. All the prices have gone up, but the relative like pricing for witness data, not witness data, has actually changed. So it's actually very bullish for Bitcoin financial transactions.
That's good. That's a good take.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Go ahead, Jan.
Yeah, like obviously I'm not as deep, in the technicalities as Charlie here. So this is really cool to learn. But I was thinking about this yesterday actually. I was thinking about with all this like sub 10k and sub 100k conversation, and I know it's gonna keep on going because Trevor is not gonna give it up or Leo is not gonna give it up. But I think what it's gonna open up, like especially combined with the fact that inscribing stuff is going to get more and more expensive. And, even if you look at not only the sub 100K, but maybe the sub million or whatever, or pre-BRC20, I think that there is a lot of inscriptions, a lot of collections that basically nobody talks about right now, that maybe somebody inscribed and they just they left, they're not doing anything with it. I think it's going to open up a door for some really interesting acquisitions. Maybe, get access to that collection, buy it, and do something with it because it's already inscribed, it's already on chain. And because it was relatively early, you know, it has some sort of value, right? And so I think we're going to see this quite a bit moving forward if, you know, the fees are going to continue to grow and if inscribing is going to be more and more prohibitive, you know? So like, I think this is something what we're going to be seeing in the space more and more.
That's a big brain take, Jan. I fully agree. This idea of like inscription archaeology hunting, because I feel like people haven't really looked at what's all been inscribed. We only kind of talk about the same, say, 50 collections on Twitter all day. I mean, you look at all the stuff that's been inscribed. There's tons of it. We haven't even begun. Some of these haven't even been identified as like linked together. So like, yeah, I love this idea of like future acquisitions of ancient like almost like artifacts that you buy and you can repurpose to do things. It's a fascinating idea.
It's funny, right? Because I was just thinking about it because I remember there was a couple collections, you know, from the very first hype cycle of Ordinals that basically are even labeled as a ruck right now because like, okay, like it basically went down to zero. Nobody cares, whatever. And it would be so funny if some of these things will like really come out of the closet later, and because they're sub-million or something and their art is okay or whatever, somebody's going to do something really interesting with it. So yeah, I think we're going to see that sooner or later, but of course that also depends on how prohibitive it's going to become, which again, I do believe that the Bitcoin fees are not going to trend lower. It's just not possible because there's so many people in the ordinal space now and so many people that would want to inscribe stuff. And so it
Oh man,
I can finish his sentence for him. Everybody's trying to inscribe, and everybody was hoping for like 10 sats for VByte. We're still at 90, and so everybody's moving their targets up. I talked to a bunch of projects, well-capitalized projects, sitting, waiting to inscribe, and they're moving their fee rate. They're moving their target up and up. So like there is latent demand sitting here and like ready to inscribe. So I don't know. Mempool no more clear. That's what I think.
What sucks too, the artists that have been, and I've had multiple conversations with different artists, the artists that have been interested but weren't really, us artists, we need a lot of clarification before we do anything. And they thought about it, you know, like back in June. On that. What?
I pulled him down for a second. Yeah, I'll private chat.
Yeah, so they thought about it back in June, and where, I mean, the sats per VByte was just like negligible compared to what it is now. And now that they, you know, have all of the information that they need, they have someone to hold their hand, and they found the resources to be able to do that. It's at that price point where it's not feasible to do. And especially if you're doing like, you know, anything over what, like 50 in a collection, it's getting up there. And so maybe, but there's also like multiple ways around that. So like pre-sale and, you know, like you could tokenize it, especially with runes coming up. I think that would be cool. I'll marry my two loves of meme coins and art inscribed on Bitcoin.
Jan, you asked about the Ninja Alerts inscriptions, and as Witters just pointed out, like it's expensive to do. She said 50. You know, we're doing what? Oh, I don't have the number not in my head. Over 3,000. So what I think we should do, I haven't talked to Trevor about this, and I don't know like how like, you know, plausible it is I think if you could just like, in Charlie and Jan, you guys could let me know if this is like possible. But like if there's a way to like inscribe like, let's say 50, take the median price of that and then just add that on to the mint price, letting people know exactly like this is how much it costs to inscribe. Because I feel like if we like this is just a personal take. This is not what Ninja Alerts is doing. This is not what Trevor talked about. But I think instead of setting like a higher mint price and just saying, that'll cover the inscription as well, I wouldn't want people to be deterred by that. But at the same time, I wouldn't want us to undercut ourselves. And then like all the mint just goes to inscribing the collection, because like we're a software company. Like we actually have a product and we have art and we have a team. So it's like, I don't know. I almost feel like that would be the safer play, to be like, okay, well, this is what our mint's going to cost as far as like buying the product. And this is what the inscription cost is based on a median of the 50 inscriptions that we did. But again, I'm literally just throwing that out. I'm sure it varies a lot. What do you guys think about something like that?
I have a lot of opinions on this. I actually was talking about this a lot back in February and March, where my view is that I don't think we can have the size of NFT or profile picture collections as we have. The pricing of Bitcoin's block space is going to incentivize these things to be smaller. But I actually think smaller makes a lot more sense. If you look at the ability for humans to form natural communities where we kind of know people, we find that there's like a lot of, throughout human history, we find there's like kind of a range of like community sizes people naturally fall into. Sometimes we refer to this as Dunbar's number, and it's anywhere from 150 to 500 people. And so I actually think that makes a lot of sense for like sizing of these things if your goal is to develop an online community. I also just think generally the concept of you putting art on chain does have to evolve. I think a lot of people are stuck in the NFT mindset of Ethereum. And you have to think, what does it look like for this ecosystem? And for the thing I'm doing, what does it look like to be put on Bitcoin? I think the future is much more exclusive, custom pieces, much fewer in number, that are very more custom built for a purpose. And so this is where I think I think it's less Andy Warhol and more custom, patron artist structure. So that's kind of my view on what this looks like. I think that's one of the ways around IPs is just the actual model of what we think of a collection changing. I think that has to change.
And two, like, there's so many different to figure out a way through like recursion or whatever you want to do with your file size. You can also like make a QR code and you can turn that into a JSON file. Like there's so many different workarounds with the current status. But I still don't think artists should wait until, I guess, like the sats per byte goes down, or like the learning curve gets, less steep. I think that they should do it now. But really think about curating a collection that you want to live forever. Because like as an artist myself, like where I've came in the past, 10 years is fathoms different from like where I am now, and figuring out something, because I mean it's gonna be there. There's nothing to change it. So like really taking the time, and just like what Charlie said, like even if it's a smaller collection, even if like through parent-child and different things like that, you can always add on to that. It's just like making that now, especially with this spot ETF. I just think that like if you can get it in before then, like you'll be golden. Even after that, I could totally see that being, like a little bit more problematic than it is now. But right now is such a, like, especially if you have like drawings or sketches, and I'm just speaking to artists, like this is not collection based whatsoever. But if you have those things that have like stood the test of time for you as an artist, I think applying that and putting that on chain, and the daddy chain or the mommy chain, Bitcoin, like I don't see how you can go wrong there.
I love it. The daddy chain or the mama chain.
Daddy chain. Yeah.
Is Bitcoin masculine or feminine? Who knows?
I'm gonna say it's mommy chain.
Mommy chain. I love it. I haven't heard that. Yeah, juice.
God, Satoshi, and Bitcoin are all neutral.
All neutral. All right.
Exactly.
We got this looks like a node monk. That was on the topic list. We still have a lot. You know, we got like 20 minutes or so left. Yeah, what's the update on node monks? Charlie, I know you inscribed like one of the first like 300. I saw your post about it. I saw their Discord got hacked, and I guess their secondary, like, have they just not like released the secondary? Because I haven't seen it trading. I don't know. Have you been following that at all?
I understand that they're pushing back the release date to tomorrow, or the actual distribution date to tomorrow, because the Discord got hacked.
Charlie, is that for real? Is it happening, or are we getting wrecked? What's happening, Charlie?
Don't ask me. Look. You guys are glad I'm even talking about it. So, no.
It doesn't benefit me, man. I don't think they see eye to eye with the ninjas.
I will keep my comments brief and neutral. I mean, I know the Discord, the Discord account Notoshi got hacked. As Lib says in the comments, the claim as a Magic claim today. I think have the honoraries been distributed? I forget.
Yeah, they were distributed. Okay. I think so. Yeah.
So that's a sick one if that's Lib's actual node monk. I really like the little wizard.
Yeah, Lib's an OG.
It's cool.
Lib's an OG. They go back to like February in the Order Cord. So, yeah, it's been a wild ride following the Node Monks saga. Yeah, that's probably all I'll say.
No, I'm joking because that's what people are talking about in all the Twitter groups right now. You know, like what's happening? What else is gonna happen? You know, and this and that. So I'm just joking, you know, but hopefully it's gonna go through for everybody. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation, you know. Like Chris, you should invite Trevor, you know, to make sure that he can spice it up here a little bit.
Oh, I should, man. I should. I think he was like speaking on a space like right before we started. I was like, man, we need to get him on. He'd be having some hot takes. People would be clipping that and using that for. They'll be putting that on Bitcoin. A video of Trevor fudding node monks.
So, like, what's the other than their Discord being hacked and still open? That's the only thing. When it crosses into security risk, that's when I get a little testy about what's exactly happening within, you know, a collection. But prior to that, so they changed what they were doing. How many other projects have done that? And I am speaking only because I have an honorary and it be my bags. So I'm curious, who, like, if we were to give our best guess, who's the founder? That's my first question. And then B.
Oh no, Jan dropped.
Jan
so it's Jan.
It's Jan. Yeah, 100% Jan.
The founder.
So, and then B, like, where do we see that price action after the fact?
I think they're going to do well regardless. I personally have a hot take on them just because, like, I'm salty about things like that. You're right. A lot of projects have done that. It's just to market yourself as free and then like get so much traction. I mean, Giancarlo with like 100,000 plus, you know, subscribers on YouTube made a video about like, this is the coolest thing because it's a free mint, and they turned down 5 million in funding. So it all seemed like a very strategic marketing thing. And then and then to go to a paid mint, and then to further go to a Dutch auction, which is like the highest liquidity you can get for the structure, just left a bad taste in my mouth personally. And also they kind of like, I feel like Trevor didn't have so I'm biased, you know, I got my boys back, And I wish Billy was here because Billy's such a kind soul. Like he'd be debating me in the kindest way, and he'd be supporting them because that's what he does. I literally heard him support them the other day because he did something similar, but it's still different in my head. Like basically something that he was going to do for free, he eventually like charged for it, but like that's still different to me because this kind of, in my opinion, this seemed kind of like a marketing like bait and switch more than it seemed like a long decision. So there's that, and then I felt like they came off really strong and unprofessional against like random criticism. Like basically, if somebody was saying along the lines of, it's kind of weird that even questioning whether they originally had 5 million in funding or not, and then them just like ripping them in DMs. You know, Trevor being one of those people, like particularly that coming from the official project itself, it just looked a little unprofessional in my opinion. Again, they look really cool. People like them. The honoraries were dope. Their ordinals, a lot of them are low inscriptions. Like I see like all kinds of bull cases for them. I'm not saying they won't do bad in secondary. I'm a petty person sometimes. So even the ETH projects, no matter what the project was or who they were, if there's a lot of those like weird things that don't line up for me, then I typically just like keep the stance of I'm just not going to mess with it. I'm also not going to FUD it. You know, I'll be honest with you guys because, you know, you asked about it, but I'm not going to sit there and tweet about how they're going to zero, how they did all this or whatever. Like it was distasteful, and I'll say that and I'll be honest, but it's not really in my schedule to like try to like bring them down.
Well, yeah, and I mean we're all in a Ponzi of some sort. Like if you're gonna FUD the Ponzi,
it's a good idea.
Then,
it's a good thing.
That's a fucking line.
What do you think, Jan? What's your take on that? You're the founder?
Man, my take is, can you hear me? Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
No, you're good. You're great.
So my take is pretty practical, I would say. I think ultimately the market is going to take care of it, right? So, you know, no matter what you think, you know, no matter what's actually happening, like the market is going to tell us, you know, like, do people like these things or not? Is it relevant because it's the first, the quote unquote first, you know, 10K collection or sub 100K, whatever? Like the market is going to figure it out. Like, I mean, you can have certain opinions and obviously the narratives change and everybody has a different kind of, you know, like things as their priorities, you know, but the market is going to figure it out. And so I think that, yeah, let's see, you know, like I think it's going to be hard to judge short term, but long term, I think node monks are going to do well, to be honest, you know, like just my opinion.
Hey, question on that. One, they look great. Like, I think they're really freaking cool. What I thought the frogs were the first 10K, but I saw like that's literally in their Twitter bio, like first 10K.
Man, that's such a debate. That's another debate, man. We should probably have another debate on this topic.
Oh, okay.
I wrote a whole piece on. I wrote a whole thing on Ordinal Hub about it. You can go read it, or you read the latest blog on Ordinal Hub. I kind of summed it up. The only thing I left off was so I hit the sub 10K. Is that the first 10K? You've got the Node Monks, which is the first to finish inscribing. You got the Badgers, the first to start inscribing, but took a long time. And then you have the Punks. Do you consider the Punks, a legitimate entrant? And then you've got OCM, again, kind of a semantics issue of like, where do you put them? And then there's Mega Ponks or Mega Punks, which is the first 10K to be sold fully, or minted rather, not inscribed. So I don't know. I see Paz saying sub 10K, first 10K. I try to be as neutral as possible. There's a bunch of runners in this. I own most or all of those. I won't say which ones I do or don't, but my bags are packed.
Who did Bitcoin Punks?
That was Ordinals Market. Robert from Ordinals Market was behind that, and that was an open mint. It was, you could do a byte perfect inscription, which they then indexed live. Megapunk's
guy's doxed too, right? He's like, I don't want to say it if it's not doxed. I know who he is, but I don't want to say too much on that. But if he is doxed, he's pretty cool and good experience in the space. I don't remember if he's doxed or not. I didn't. That's a really good piece and good points, Charlie, because there's a lot of things that could be debated. I don't know. Even the marketing in that rubs me the wrong way, though. Like, unless there's like a really strong case that you're the first 10K to put that in your Twitter bio, kind of throws me off a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like I'll remain the like, whatever, the skeptic one in the room. I feel like some either founders or projects, I'm not saying NodeBunks has done this all the way. It's like, let's see how many people we can step on until we get to the top, and like, or throw dirt on, by even like small remarks, like first 10 sub 10K or first 10K or whatever that like marketing thing is. And I personally don't like that approach. I really like to see everybody who's working hard in the space win. Again, I'm not saying NodeBunks has completely done that, but I don't know. It's an interesting debate though, with the sub 10K, the NodeBunks, the frogs.
I think there is a thing you can say, which is, not saying anything for a month probably would have yielded significantly more, the mint.
Yeah, just sometimes it's better just to not say anything. So
Man,
what is their case, Jan? What is their case? Why are they saying they're 10K, the first 10K? You're obviously either the founder or co-founder.
Yeah, I'm the founder for sure, man. I'm the founder. I just specced in like how many millions of dollars, and I'm retiring right now, guys.
But you
like,
denied a lot though. You denied like 5 billion.
Yeah, the mint wasn't high enough. He can't buy an internet connection.
Yeah, I gotta do another collection because my internet connection is so bad. But no, man. I mean. I think what's lost opportunity, right? And this is just, again, my take. And, I haven't really spoken with the team at all. I know that there's a lot of people in the ordinal space that spoke with the team quite a bit in length. But I think the lost opportunity is really being like the CryptoPunks of ordinals, right? Like for that, you would have to make it free. Like if it's not free, if you ask for money, which again you can do, like, come on, it's your collection. Like, I'm not judging you like by charging people for your art or for the things that you have done. Come on, like that's not even the point that I'm trying to make. But I think the lost opportunity here is that if it was free, then the message would be very strong, basically saying, quote unquote, okay, this is the first original PFP collection, 10K collection on ordinals that has the lowest inscription number, whatever. Plus, it was free. It was like, let's say, quote unquote, fairly distributed, whatever. And I think that would mean a lot more, to people moving forward, to obviously speculators, investors, collectors. I think if that would happen, I definitely believe that NodeBunks would be like, easily could have been like the top ordinals collection. Because they didn't do it, honestly speaking, and August, I don't know like what market is gonna do, but my gut feeling is that they're not gonna be the top one. Like I even think that like something like frogs have a better chance doing better than them, just because they have that narrative that like, hey, it was free, it was cool. At the time, nobody really cared about ordinals. They were giving it out for free to people like traveling around the world when it was worth like couple bucks. I think that narrative is so strong that like I think it may actually do better than NodeBunks, no matter the inscription numbers. So let's see what the market is gonna say, man. Let's see how the market is gonna react.
There's plenty of really amazing collections out there, which are really respected, which have extremely positive vibes, which have a range of whether they're big, very very lucrative to do or not lucrative. And I think the market doesn't actually particularly care. The market will pay a high price for a lot of these because people care more about how they want the asset, and then they want to feel good about owning the asset. I don't think the market has a preference whether it's free mint or not free mint. They just want to feel that they're giving their money to somebody who deserves it. So
yeah, and that's my last like harsh take, not harsh take, but like I just feel like there's so many artists that do deserve it, so many hardworking founders that do deserve it. So for projects that take distasteful steps every step of the way, and then people to like hype it up because it has the marketing and the traction, because they're probably going to get a good flip, because it's probably going to be a high price, and that's happened. I mean, that's happened since NFTs became a thing. That's always just been kind of like, well, that sucks, because there's other projects that have been around for a long time that haven't got the love. I mean, I have, like, off the top of my head, I'm not even like in these discords every single day, but like the Bitcoin whales ordinals, like every single day, Tosio is like on Twitter and DMs on Discord, making partnerships and everything like that. They're like 005 right now or something like that, 006, whatever it is. NPC ordinals, those have been really fun. They're about to do like doginals for NPC ordinal holders. They've been really active. Again, I mean, lower than Bitcoin whales. These have been founders that have been working, and there was 25 plus other ones. I don't know the prices of all of them. That was on the Ordinal show last night, of hardworking founders that are building products that have been around since February. And these are priced like at a fraction of what the Node Monks is going to be priced, based off of the marketing and the inscription. And again, I agree with Jan. If you created it, you can price it whatever you want to. So I guess I more so just have a problem with, like, I hate that it's like that. I hate that the market just decides, based on attention, hype, and marketing. But I mean, that's just how it is at the end of the day. And I'm not going to tell people what they can and can't price it with, but just the whole bait and switch just didn't settle right with me.
We've beaten this horse to death. Oh, sorry, Witters. If you get a beat it again one more time.
Yeah, Witters. It really.
Can we beat it one more time? No.
Yeah.
I guess my big, because like now the pressure's on. Paz has said, like base Jan take, base Charlie, base Chris. Like, if I don't represent, I have to say something. And if I don't get it, then I mean, it's fine. I'm not base. But the biggest thing for me is where you put your importance and your ergo, like your money, your BTC, and how that correlates is so fascinating to me. Like with OMB, with like hashlings, with ninjas, with like the wizards. Like there's so many different collections that you can get behind, and like full force, just like have so many different avenues of like why you love that specific thing. But what's going to stand the test of time is like what like new people see, and they take into like consideration whenever they're buying. And that, it's just fascinating to me. And that goes not just ordinals, that's like all chains. And which one's gonna like stick around and be the one. But at the end of the day, like, I'm gonna choose the one that's artist heavy, just for me. I'm curious though, do y'all like whenever you're buying, and this is specifically for Chris and probably Jan. Charlie, I don't feel like you're like really affected by like FOMO or like anything like that, but like Chris and Jan.
Everybody is. Come on. Charlie is also.
I pretend like I'm not.
It was one of the first 300 in the Node Monks.
Yeah. So like whenever you see a new ordinal project, what are you looking at as a checklist item? Like, just saying like one or two.
Yeah, I'm looking for who the founder is, how the art looks, and it depends. Am I looking at like if it's a solid founder, solid art, they've been working on things behind the scenes, have they built anything else? If all of those things are available, I'm like really evaluating things and looking to buy it and hold it. If I'm looking at something like Node Monks, I'm looking at the attention marketing and the hype cycle and what entry I can get in and what exit I can get out. I mean, I'm just gonna be real there, because I have things that are like, oh, this has a lot of attention, easy flip, and then I have things like, oh, I really like that artist, there's a lot of cool things that founder has done or that is doing. They're doing something innovative on that. this sounds so silly, but even right now, at least for short to midterm, like, are they active on like spaces in the culture and the communities? Because that's important too. You know, if it's just some random person launching it, it's just this again a little distasteful. But yeah, that's just some of the things I look for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, to be honest, it's pretty loaded question, right? Because I think ultimately, even for me, like, you know, we're so early in this space, you know, in ordinals. When I started buying some of these collections pretty early on, to be honest, the motivation wasn't really about trading it at all. Like, I'm actually holding most of the things that I bought from the very beginning. So like, I wasn't really looking at it as a trader or somebody, okay, I get in and get out and this and that. Because like, I just wanted to be part of that. And obviously, you know, we're building Xverse, and I just want to be in touch with these communities and see what people are up to and what they're doing and learning from them, because you know, this is such a new space. Like, I am still learning every single day, you know. So for me, at the beginning of Ordinals, it was really about the community. Can I learn something from these people, right? And I have to say, like, I mean, Withers, like, we're both in OMB. Like, I have learned so much from ZK and like just hanging out with these people, because they're not only teaching me about ordinals, but also just in general about crypto, you know, because this is my first cycle in crypto full time, you know, like, I have not been trading crypto for a decade, right? And so some of these things, you even mentioned meme coins and shit coins at the beginning, you know, like I'm learning about these things and like these dynamics and how this evolves and like these cycles from people in the OMB ecosystem, like primarily because they're very active, and like ZK is very known for like, you know, this spending time with his collectors, and you know, like I'm on the call with him from time to time, and so just learning so much. And so that's something that has been so far the most important thing for me, you know, like what's the community like? Can I learn something, etc. Obviously, as we're kind of like, you know, moving forward in the space, then you start thinking about like, yeah, at some point you probably want to sell, you want to take some profits, you know, like you want to potentially like, you know, really turn it into, you know, either just hold more Bitcoin or do whatever else you want to do. And so that's something that will probably come later. That's really not something that I'm looking at right now. I'm not really looking at flipping, trading, and just like doing these kinds of things, because I'm just not really good at it. But I'm starting to educate myself, you know, like about these things. And there's definitely projects where I would be looking at the entry and potentially just flipping and trying to get more Bitcoin so that I can, you know, accumulate more of something else. But to be honest, that's just like a minority of the projects for me so far, you know. So we'll see how it evolves. But, you know, not to say like you should definitely take profits and you should have that strategy in mind that at some point you should probably sell something. You know, that shouldn't be like, oh, you should never sell. I've made that mistake with Moonbirds, and I will forever remember that.
Yeah, that goes back to like what's gonna, you know, make the use case of like why you bought it. Like whether it's just like if you just bought it because of art, then hell yeah, like that's enough, and that has, you know, stood the test of time for punks, ringers, you know, fidenzas. And whenever you just buy because of art, then I honestly don't think you can go wrong. And so like,
well, unless you buy a art-based PFP project that later decides to CC0, because then it's kind of like, well, this is kind of mine.
No, I completely agree. And you got me off on a tangent, Chris.
A trigger. You're about to go on a Withers super flaming hot take.
I had a sassy take.
We like that.
And now it just completely, because then I went CC0 and then my brain started spiraling. Anywho, go ahead, everybody else.
Sorry, Withers, I got you off on the take. Try. I'm a
sucker for people who do interesting things in the inscription envelope. I'm a sucker for the tech. And then I have very, very bad prediction about the cultural vector. Like if something is cool or not. I'm kind of an idiot. But also I don't really mind. I know my lane. I stay in it, and then if I like the person on a founder on a personal level, I typically buy one of them just because I like to support people I know. So,
speaking of supporting
awesome.
founders that are known in the space that have been working really hard, we are at the end of this segment. I did want to play. We officially announced the Ninja Alerts mint date. Trevor at TO on Twitter, founder of Ninja Alerts. We were a successful project on Ethereum. We already have software. We are a software company coming out with more tools. A very good art. With all that being said, we just had somebody on our team make a video talking about the mint date. It's less than 60 seconds. Going to play that real quick, and then we're going to conclude this space, and we'll get to that in just a second. So go ahead and play the video. Let me know if you guys can hear it without it echoing.
When Ninja Mint, ever since my last video, we received double the amount of signups to the Ninja Alerts allow list. With the influx of new members entering the dojo, we received this question a lot. When Ninja Mint? When Ninja Mint? Okay, we've heard you. We recently just announced the mint date to our Ninja Alerts Ordinals PFP. And in true ninja fashion, of course we have a tool for that. Shout out to Crypto Vengeance for creating this amazing tool. Visit emote.ninja. Select your custom PFP, choose an emote, and generate banner. Poof! Done. It's that simple. So, when is Ninja Mint?
It's pretty cool.
Hey,
Good job, guys.
That's when Ninja Mint is. That was a great video by Ken. My bad. Ken is on the show sometimes. Things up pretty soon, so we'll talk about that later. Excellent video. Great job. I doubt he's watching this right now, but if you are watching this right now, great job, Ken. As he said, mint date coming up soon. If you want to talk about organic marketing, we've really done a lot of organic marketing. Community is growing really strong. 2 PFP groups filled with people just with Ninja PFPs. Lots of alpha in there. It's been a really wild ride, really great. And we have some more announcements around the corner coming up before our official mint date that are going to be really cool, really excited about. So definitely stay tuned for Ninja Alerts. Before we conclude, if you guys have any thoughts on that video or just anything we talked about today, and then we'll wrap it up.
Ken is just, he's adorable. Like, you just want to put him in your pocket and just go down the street. No, that was sick. And now we know, right, about, like, whenever ninjas are, there's a date.
January 16th.
January 16th at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
There we go. No, that was sick. And I think everybody, between the wizards and the ninjas, I cannot wait for IRL events that are like dress up, because you won't know who anybody is.
That's funny. Yeah, it'll allow you to stay anonymous if you are anonymous.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which is a heavy percent of the Bitcoin and ordinal population.
Yeah, it's important. Clearly nobody up here, but
nope.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Jan, thanks for coming tonight. Hope that the Ordinal show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
You're
Have
welcome.
a great rest of the year.
Yeah,
When is it? On Monday? Monday is the January 1st. When is that?
Monday's January 1st. So we'll see if you guys have the Ordinal show or not. If you guys have another great debate about.
Well, I want to. I hope the guys are not gonna bail on me again.
Awesome. Charlie, thanks so much for being here, man. I'm gonna read that piece later that you wrote on the 10K. That sounds super interesting. Definitely go follow Charlie CV Spears on Twitter. And Witters, as always, thank you so much. You're great. 3K to 33K. If you guys missed that conversation earlier and you're watching right now, go back and watch it. This girl changed $3,000 that she borrowed from her dad to $33,000 and then gave it back to him just to completely annihilate her brothers and sisters and make her look like the only child on Christmas. That's absolutely amazing. Gave him an OMB and a ledger, which he later lost within 24 hours. But they got it back. It's all good. With all that being said, thank you guys so much. Thanks everybody who's in the comments, watching, and chat. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday, 6:30 Eastern time.